Vives acostado al lado de un cuerpo, ves cómo matan a la gente, pruebas la carne humana, vives el terror.
Latin American cartels are well known for their ruthless assassinations, narcotics trafficking, and extortion. They control countries like Mexico, Colombia, and Guatemala, where the top politicians and even the police are forced to side with them. In recent years, female narco lords are also making the headlines, and their brutalities are surpassing that of their counterparts. Some of these narco lords had so much courage that they didn't hesitate to stand up to the world's deadliest cartels, who dared crossing their paths. Although some of them met a tragic fate, their courage was truly talked about. And in today's video, we'll take a look at some of their life stories. Let's begin. Griselda Blanco. Born in February 1943 in Santa Marta, Colombia, Griselda Blanco is often hailed as the most influential queenpin of her era, mentioned in the same breath as figures like Pablo Escobar. She emerged from a financially struggling family and was pushed into a life of crime as early as 11 years old. She grew up in a tumultuous environment which shaped her into a tough and harsh woman. When she was 11 years old, she abducted a boy and demanded ransom from his parents. When the affluent parents refused to pay, she took the boy's life. Committing such a heinous act at such a young age was exceptionally rare, and it gives us an early glimpse into the type of criminal she would eventually become. At the age of 14, she ran away from her home, seeking refuge from her mother's boyfriend, who had been victimizing her repeatedly. No one knows how long he had been hurting her. It's also unknown whether her mother knew about it and chose to stay silent. She met and married Carlos Trujillo when she was a teenager. Carlos was a human trafficker and a legal immigration expert. She had 3 children with Carlos, but the marriage was short-lived and quickly led to a divorce. There were even rumors suggesting she might have had him taken out after their separation, but no one found concrete proof. In the early 1970s, Griselda married a narcotics trafficker named Alberto Bravo. This marked her entry into the world of narcotics trade. She and her new husband got into the narcotics trade, and they conducted their operations in New York City. After law enforcement began chasing them, they retired to Colombia and began operating from there. Griselda's relationship with her husband at the time also began to deteriorate. The fights became serious when she discovered he was taking money from their business without informing her. The dispute spiraled out of control, leading to a tragic confrontation. In the heat of the moment, Griselda fired at her husband and he succumbed to his injuries. Following this grim event, she earned the nickname the Black Widow. In 1978, Griselda ventured into her 3rd marriage, this time with a bank robber named Dario Sepulveda. Unfortunately, he met the same fate as her other 2 husbands and left the world too soon. Griselda never remarried after that. Returning to the United States in the late 70s, she established a base in Miami, resuming her involvement in the narcotics trade. Her expertise in the business became so renowned that she was later dubbed the Sane Godmother in the latter part of her criminal career.
The disregard for human life there at the scene, something that we had never seen or heard of here in South Florida.
Former DEA agent Bob Palombo called Griselda a chameleon, as she could change herself very easily. She was a short woman with 4 kids, giving her the motherly aura and innocence that came with the identity. Just by looking at her, you wouldn't think she was a brutal narco lord, but a peek into her history would shock anyone. Griselda loved killings. Bodies lined the streets of Miami as a result of her feuds. She gathered around her a group of henchmen known as the Pistoleros. Initiation into the group was earned by killing someone and cutting off a body part as proof of the deed. She would also remove someone she didn't want to settle her debts with. She not only killed rivals and wayward lovers, but used murder as a means of canceling debts she didn't want to pay. A particularly bloody massacre that took place in July 1979 in a Miami shopping center became known as the Deadliest massacre. Griselda chose a series of violent assaults to eliminate her enemies, the tales of which are portrayed in the documentary Cane Cowboy Wars. She caused the death of around 200 people, and this includes boyfriends and associates who dared to cross her. Griselda had affairs with both men and women, and she had many boyfriends. But if she thought a man was cheating on her, she would get rid of him. She undoubtedly stood out as the most ruthless female narco lord of her time.
Known in cities across the US as the Godmother, for her mafia-like brutality.
One of the most feared narcotics homicidal maniacs that we've ever encountered.
Her preferred method was daylight drive-by gunfire, and using this tactic, Griselda got rid of several rivals.
On the streets of Medellin, Blanco develops what becomes her signature method of assassination. The motorcycle drive-by.
She was an expert in narcotics trafficking, which meant that she was earning a lot of hard cash. As a result, her net worth soared quickly. At some point, she was earning millions in just a matter of days. What did she do with this money? Griselda knew how to enjoy the luxuries of life. Hosting extravagant parties for friends and acquaintances and investing in opulent properties became her norm. Soon, she became a prime suspect for law enforcement agencies, and she was forced to flee to California in 1984. Despite all the running, she was captured in 1985 and handed a 15-year sentence. The officers caught her after a dramatic mission.
Bob went directly up to Griselda and gave her a big kiss on the cheek. She demanded to know, "What is that for?" Which Bob replied, "That's because I'm so glad to see you."
Griselda was released in 2004 and immediately deported to Colombia. She quit her life of crimes and chose to live a simple life. But in 2012, she met a fate similar to the one she had dealt to numerous rivals during her peak. The Coke godmother was gunned down in front of a Medellin butcher shop. Officers who dealt with her case weren't surprised. They only wondered how she'd lived so many years without being taken out. Joselyn Alejandra Nino. Another young female narco lord who got caught up in the dangerous world of cartels is named Joselyn Alejandra Nino, commonly known as La Flaca, or the Skinny One. La Flaca's story is pretty tragic because from her ascent to a powerful position within her cartel, it seemed as if she was getting stronger with time, but her downfall came a little too soon. Joselyn was born in the 1990s in Mexico. Not much about her early life is known, but we know that she made the fateful decision to join the Gulf Cartel, which is one of Mexico's oldest and most powerful criminal organizations. The Gulf Cartel has been in business since the 1930s, and they're known for their brutal displays of violence. They control key trafficking routes into the United States, making them one of the strongest cartels in Latin America. But the cartel also had its problems. It's split into different factions that often fight each other for control of territory. Well, La Flaca was part of a faction called Los Ciclones, based in the border city of Rio Bravo. La Flaca was a sicaria, a hitwoman. Her job was to eliminate the cartel's enemies, often in the most brutal ways imaginable. But why would a woman join a cartel? Well, some of them just wanted to escape poverty, while someone was hungry for the power and authority their roles gave them. Having a pretty face made their job much easier. La Flaca was young, attractive, and apparently very good at her job, but she made one mistake. She showed off a little too much on social media, and that's where things started to go wrong. On January 5th, 2015, a photo of La Flaca began circulating on social media. The picture showed her smiling at the camera, holding a high-powered rifle, and wearing a bulletproof vest. She looked confident, even a little smug and condescending. That's probably because she didn't know that this picture was going to bring her downfall. Why? Well, the picture was leaked by a rival faction of the Gulf Cartel called Los Metros. They wanted to reveal her identity so that she would be an easy target for her enemies. The photo went viral and spread across Facebook and Twitter immediately. People were shocked to see this young, pretty woman posing with a weapon of war.
Según versiones de algunos informantes que manejamos nosotros en el sector, muchas mujeres, lastimosamente por la situación económica del país, se ven involucradas en trabajar de informantes de las pandillas o de venderles droga.
Just 3 months after that photo hit the internet, on April 13th, 2015, in a parking lot in Matamoros in Tamaulipas State, Mexican authorities found an abandoned pickup truck with Texas license plates. Inside the truck were 3 coolers. They contained the remains of 3 people, all cut up into pieces. One of them was identified as La Flaca after the officers noticed the distinctive Nino tattoo on her forearm. It was her family name. 2 other bodies were found with her, another woman and a man, both also believed to be members of Los Ciclones. A message was left at the scene, claiming that Los Metros were responsible for the killings. So this attack really wasn't about revenge. The rivals just wanted to send a message, and La Flaca became a victim. Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel. She was known as La Catrina during her cartel days, but she was born as Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel in the city of Tepalcatepec in southern Mexico. Her father was a farmer, and her mother was a homemaker. Maria might not have been through extreme poverty, but they weren't rich either. But she always craved a luxurious life, which her parents couldn't afford. Maria wasn't an attentive student and always dreamed of the life of a star. Her Instagram account was a testament to it. She had a huge fan following and posted glamorous pictures whenever she could. She became interested in the power and glamour that came with the cartel life. She looked for ways to join cartels, and the opportunity finally came in 2017. She met Miguel LM2 Fernandez, a leader of the notorious CJNG or Jalisco New Generation Cartel. They fell in love, and Miguel opened up the world of narcotics and violence for Maria. She earned her moniker La Catrina after the Dame of the Dead from Aztec folklore after she joined cartel life. In the folklore, La Catrina is the queen of the underworld and watches over the bones of the deceased. The country holds a Day of the Dead festival where people dress up as La Catrina.
The streets of Mexico City came alive last night, you could say, as hundreds of skeletons paraded on the capital's main boulevard as part of the Day of the Dead festivities. The parade is one of the city's many events for the Day of the Dead, a pre-Hispanic tradition in which families remember their dead and celebrate the continuity of life.
The nickname was fitting for this female hitman, as she served death to her victims, rivals, and law enforcement officers. But how did La Catrina climb the ladders within the cartel so fast? Well, she had something that many didn't: her beauty. She would sometimes use it to lure in enemies, often to torment them or take their lives. Her Instagram account had tons of pictures, most of which showed off the lavish cartel lifestyle. She would take pictures holding guns, boarding a helicopter, or all dolled up and ready to party. Pleased with her dedication towards the cartel, the CJNG soon promoted her to a sicaria. She was given her own team of hitmen. La Catrina's boyfriend, Miguel LM2 Fernandez, shared his strategies with her. Under his guidance, she became the perfect female sicaria who was adept at almost all streams of cartel operations. La Catrina loved her nickname so much that she got a tattoo of the Aztec goddess on her left thigh. She proudly showed it off on her social media. Her name is associated with the brutal massacres in the El Aguaje ambush. On October 14, 2019, a police convoy was passing through El Aguaje in Michoacan. The policemen had gone there to serve a warrant. La Catrina and her men had intel about this operation, and it gave them the perfect opportunity to orchestrate an ambush. As the convoy drove into their area, about 30 sicarios began firing at them. The policemen fired back to protect themselves, and the area turned into a battle zone within a matter of moments.
A la vida. Dale. Ay, güey, se siente la llamarada, la verdad. La chamba de 4.
The clash took the lives of 13 officers and left 9 others wounded. The incident was a win for the CJNG and one of the few deadly attacks led by a woman sicaria. The officers traced her identity and linked to the cartel, and they started looking for her to capture her. They didn't have to wait too long either. In January 2020, a video began circulating on the internet claiming that the ruthless La Catrina of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel was taken out after a brutal gun battle with law enforcement. Police reportedly found La Catrina and her group of sicarios at La Bocanada in Aguililla, Mexico. The cartel members raised roadblocks to prevent the officers from reaching them, but after a long exchange of bullets, the police were finally able to capture La Catrina and her men. Despite employing her training and strategies, La Catrina was hit in the battle. Body cam footage collected from one of the officers showed her sitting against a wall, looking disoriented, harrowed, and bootied.
Tranquila, mija, ya viene el helicóptero por ti. Que
Ya viene el helicóptero. Tranquila, hija, tranquila. Vas a estar bien. Trata de aguantar,
Calm down, kid. The helicopter is coming for you. It is coming now. Easy, easy. You are going to be okay. Try to hang on. The policeman managed to capture all the CJNG hitmen who were present in the location that day. Pictures released showed them lined up on the ground on their knees, all worn out from the distressing battle. After help arrived, one of the soldiers carried La Katrina to the helicopter. According to reports, La Katrina had excessive blood loss from the wound on her neck, and she succumbed to her injuries soon afterward. She was only 21 when she lost her life. Looking back at her story, she could have become anything she wanted, a model, an influencer, or even a TV star, but she chose to become a sicaria, which endangered her whole life. Marisela Morales. Marisela Morales, the female version of El Chapo in Guatemala, was indeed a woman of power. Lemus was born into a family of crime and power. She was destined to rule this empire. In the city of Ciudad Pedro de Alvarado, which lies on the border of Guatemala and El Salvador, Marisela and her sister, Mayra, controlled the source of narcotics that were coming in and out of the country. Not only was the Lemus family involved in organized crime, but they also held political influence. Marisela Lemus's brother previously held the position of president of Moyutla, but died after suffering from a heart attack in 2009. Her sister Mayra was voted to become the interim president, and their plan was for her to eventually take over the position. Sadly, Mayra was taken out by a group of armed men after having lunch with her sister to promote her presidential campaign. According to Marisela, she witnessed her sister's life being taken before her eyes and believed that it was the work of their political rival. Marisela ended up replacing her sister in the race for the presidency, and she did everything she could to promote herself. Still, she lost the election to her opponent, which really enraged her. She attempted to take the new president's life several times, but she was unsuccessful. To make things worse for her, in 2015, she was arrested and sentenced to 94 years in prison. But that wasn't the end. In 2016, she attempted to escape prison by climbing over the wall with the help of other inmates. Indeed, she was unsuccessful. In 2017, Marisela tried to escape again by dressing up as a prison guard, but she ended up being arrested 2 weeks later. Though all of her attempts were in vain, Marisela still remains adamant that she will win her freedom. The former queen pin reportedly wants to have her case reopened, and she's determined to fight her way out of the system. La Lolita. La Lolita was a member of both La Familia Michoacana and Los Viagras Cartels, and she gained fame for her shocking social media posts that flaunted her lifestyle as a cartel assassin. She went by various nicknames, including Lucy Cruz and Castillo Hernandez. She used platforms like Facebook and YouTube to share disturbing content. Her posts often featured her posing with weapons, showing off luxury items bought with drug money, and even taunting rival cartels. La Lolita appeared really cocky in all her pictures. She would often pose with assault rifles and other weapons. Her content mixed sexuality and violence, which objectified women but glorified brutality, and this is a trope that is very common in narco culture. La Lolita shared shocking videos that showed her torturing captives. These horrific clips served as a way to intimidate rivals and created fear in local communities. In one of her final videos, posted in November 20, La Lolita directly insulted members of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. She called them cowards. This kind of provocation between cartels often leads to bloody reprisals and escalating violence. And her case was different. Shortly after posting that video, La Lolita vanished without a trace. Her sudden disappearance led many to speculate that she had finally pushed too far and met a violent end at the hands of rival cartel members. Some fear she may have been snatched by her rivals and is being held captive. Other netizens are certain that El Mencho has something to do with her disappearance. The CJNG leader has been known to react inhumanely to the slightest insult, and he's taken lives just for harmless jokes before that were directed at him. so people are fearing La Cholita might have faced a similar fate, if not worse. Her case shows how cartels use social media to spread fear and build their fearsome reputations. By sharing graphic content showing violence and torture, they aim to terrorize both rival gangs and local populations. This helps them keep a strong grip on the weak and rivals. It also shows how women are sometimes used as provocative figureheads by cartels, mixing sexuality and violence in disturbing ways. Female narcos, like La Cholita, are often presented as symbols of empowerment, but in reality, they are exploited and placed in extreme danger. La Cholita's disappearance is a stark reminder that there are no true winners in the cartel world. Even those who seem powerful and untouchable can meet sudden, violent ends. Her fate remains unknown, but given the brutality of cartel feuds, it is likely she paid the ultimate price for her provocative online presence. We may never know what truly happened to La Cholita, but her story serves as a cautionary tale about the real dangers that lie behind the flashy narco lifestyle promoted on social media. Far from being glamorous or exciting, it is a world of cruelty, fear, and death. What did you think about the life of these female narcos? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.